Welcome to this edition of PADNET Presents. I'm Derek Simpson, your host, and on this particular program, we always try to introduce persons of interest that will inspire, empower, and encourage you to be engaged in our community. On this particular show, we're very privileged to have someone that I consider not only a colleague, but a friend in the community, and that's Blair Cohn. Welcome, Blair.
Thank you very much.
And Blair is the Executive Director of the Bixby Knolls Business Improvement Association. I wanted to read it to make sure I get that whole
It's a long title,
there.
tongue twister, yes.
In there. So Blair, before we get into the Bixby Knolls Improvement Association, I always try to sort of set the stage in telling people about who our guests really are. You know, I typically would say when you take the suit off, but you didn't wear a suit today.
No,
so
I never do.
I don't have to get to that.
No.
But
And don't give away any dirty secrets, will you?
And you're representing Bixby Knolls there
all the time.
very prominently. But Blair, you're a Long Beach native, and so you kind of got a feel for what's really good about Long Beach and what Long Beach's potential is. And then I hear you moved on and went to USC, and you started as an entrepreneur out of your dorm room. Tell that story.
Yeah, I was playing music at the time.
Okay.
But when I went to school, school started to take over. And I didn't want to get rid of it completely or get out of it.
Right.
So I told the guys, I said, look, you guys continue playing. I'll book the shows. So literally out of my dorm room, I was calling clubs in Hollywood, using a fake name as the agent and then my name as the manager. So it sounded like we had a whole team together.
Right.
So I started booking. We played all through Hollywood and then joined the concerts committee, became a DJ, and just really started doing it right from there, but right on campus.
So it was really then, I would imagine, that kind of ingenuity that has really contributed greatly to you being basically a one-man band as the Bixby Knolls Improvement Association as well, huh?
Well, I think the marketing classes and psychology, that's when the light went on. I had to suffer through finance and statistics and all that through business school, but once I got to marketing, then it all made sense to me. And so I just have taken that and applying it to what I'm doing now.
Now, before we get to where you are now, you had a couple of stops along the way. You get out of college, and then I didn't realize that the 2001 you were involved with the International City Racing, which is better known as the Long Beach Marathon.
That's right.
How did you get into that one?
Okay, so taking one step back a little bit, for about 6 years I was working for a special event company. We were putting on seminars and conferences for school teachers across the country. So that's really where I got a lot of the training and putting on big events. Buddy said, I'm tired of teaching. I said, I've done this for a while. He got the opportunity to be the race director for the marathon from a guy that wanted to put it on. He brought me on to help him. We did it for a couple of years, 99 and 2000, and we said, we need to do this by ourselves because the company that was at the time wasn't so stable. So we formed International City Racing, brought Bob Segrett in, created the team. It was feast or famine, mostly famine for a while, but the marathon now has gone from 4,500 participants up to 25,000.
Wow.
So it's great, and it's a marquee event for the city, and I was happy to be a part of that to get it off the ground.
When you mention those numbers, where does that stand in terms of size? Let's say, I know the LA Marathon is much larger, but in
it's comparable. But the thing in Long Beach is that there's a full and a half marathon. There's a bike tour, so it would be, I'd say, in the top 10 nationally. But you get New York and Boston, Chicago, the big daddies of them, where they get like 40,000 run. But for Long Beach, it's great. It's a great event, and people are coming from all over to do it every year.
So now you've got that marketing class and that psychology class. You've got, the marathon experience behind you, and then you had a stint with the city in some capacity.
Yeah, it was interesting. Again, so I get that itch a little bit, and special events that said, how about coming on this side of the table? And I worked there for a year and understood or got to learn the bureaucracy, the different departments and who does what, and how it works, but realized, I'm not a bureaucrat, and I don't like to be constrained, and I realized all I was going to do was turn paper and sign permits, and that was it. There was no creative force behind it because we were compliance, and I felt akin to the promoter. I wanted to help them make it a better event. So that was it. I left and went to do other events and worked on University by the Sea. We did that for 2 years, and then the opportunity in Bixby Knolls came up and jumped on it.
Now, the opportunity with Bixby Knolls, I love that area up there. In fact, my daughter lives up in the area, generally speaking. And you have a mission, you have an association. Can you share with those who may not be totally aware, what is the mission of the association?
Sure. So officially, What we're in charge of is Long Beach Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue from 33rd to 46th Street on both sides. So that's our district. And so we're responsible for keeping it clean and safe, promoting it, sharing information to the membership, marketing ideals or funding or business plan ideas, and just making a vibrant business district. Now, what we've done is gone outside of that a little bit, because I said, well, it's great that we're going to focus on the businesses, and that's of course that's our mission. That's what we're going to do, but we need to cast the net wider to make sure that we are engaging the neighborhood. Because if you don't have these residents involved daily on the business corridors, then we have nothing here. So at the beginning, most of my programs were geared toward the residents to bring them out of their homes, but to the business corridor. And there was smoke and mirrors, because the residents were having a great time with the programs, but they also had to realize that they were supporting that particular business where the event was,
Right.
or the district as a whole, which is where you see something like First Fridays.
And I know that you've had many different partners, and I've been up to First Fridays, which we'll talk more about, but there's like school kids up there, there's moms and dads with babies, there's the big red bus. I mean,
Right.
It's a pretty festive evening. So I guess I'm saying you've been pretty successful, it seems, in getting the community to come out, at least on that day, if not others.
Well, we wanted to be as inclusive as possible.
Right.
And I learned early on that there were pockets of people doing things all over the district. But they were in this silo and they were in that silo and whatnot. I said, we have to stitch them together and get them involved with what we do. So it's always businesses first, but then it's the nonprofits and it's the schools and the churches and the homeowner associations, all Bixby Knowles centric, or Cal Heights, you know, in our area, and bring them together. So we want to be supportive. And I look at it, you know, some people laugh, but I kind of call it the Mayberry approach, where everybody knows each other. You know, you can go to Trader Joe's and take an hour before you start shopping, because you stop and talking to everybody,
Right.
which is great. I think it's wonderful. Or you recognize, excuse me, people in the restaurants as you're going to get your seat. To me, that's great. And that's what we wanted to do, is kind of wake up the neighborhood and get everybody to know each other.
That's a true community.
It is,
you know,
and that's what we want to do.
It's all about those relationships and making people look out for each other and
Right.
and want to support their local business. I know recently we had, I think it was called Local Business Saturday or something like that.
Yeah, Small Business Saturday, sure.
Yeah, and that's an important thing. What I found interesting as I was looking more into the Bixby Knowles area was that you actually have geographic boundaries that are inclusive of not one contiguous area, it seems, but like you have Bixby Knowles and California Heights and Los Cerritos and the Virginia Country Club area and La Linda Drive. I mean, it seems like it's all over, but it's all part of that one association, correct?
It is, and we dissect right through it. And because we do, that's why I said, then everybody that's on either side of us is going to be involved with what we do and enveloped.
Now, when you talk about programs, we mentioned First Friday. Can you share a bit more about First Friday in terms of how that all came about and what you see as the success of it?
And so the stars aligned perfectly. So when I got there to the job, there were a handful, very few businesses that had decided that on the first Friday of the month they would stay open later. And they would use their space to host an artist to do a show. So they just were trying to create foot traffic. They were getting people into their business. So if you went from his place to the restaurant to the other place down the street, you created this little energy. Well, I had just come from the University by the Sea model, which was to use all the businesses and the solariums and the basements and the tunnels as classrooms. So it worked out perfectly. So I said, great, the BIA office needs to be a venue, and we're going to go knocking door to door to door to say, look, here's an opportunity for you to showcase your business every month, and we'll do all the work. You run your business, but we'll do all the heavy lifting now. And we worked hard. We got a grant. The grant got us a First Fridays coordinator. The more we did with the coordinator and built it, we went back to the redevelopment agency and said, look, it's not an event we're doing. This is an economic development plan for our district. They understood that. They gave us more funding. And thank goodness that our contract still stands with the agency for another 6 years. That's going to help it continue to grow and be stable, and it's the marquee event of the neighborhood.
It is. So I guess I want to look back and look forward too, if we stay with First Fridays for a moment. So if you look back, what First Friday maybe stands out in your mind as the one it's like, wow, you should have been there for that one?
Oh, well, you know what? Right when James Johnson became councilman,
Okay.
we committed to do something unusual. I said, we have to do it. We have to do something great. So he did his first books at the Dana Library, and he brought some horses for the kids to pet. I said, I'll tell you what, though. Tell your guy to pack that horse, send it up to the Expo building up the street. So we then took the horse, we walked it in the building, we walked it down the street in the middle of it just to create a stir. And that kind of set a pattern of what we say, expect the unexpected.
Right, right. So as we expect the unexpected looking forward, is there like a bright idea that quite hasn't gotten legs yet that you would love to see happen?
We've tried almost everything. You know, there's been fire, there's been dancers of all types, there's stilt guys, there's surrealism, there's community art projects, there's even s'mores. You know, we have Boy Scouts cooking s'mores. So we go to a lot of events all the time. It's hunting and gathering. We want to make sure that we're always getting new ideas. So we'll have something in our bag of tricks.
What role do the businesses and the homeowners, do they give you ideas for you to consider? Or
all the time, all the time. You know, we get emails, we get calls when we're walking face to face. How about this theme? Or did you know this guy's birthday falls on the first Friday? I mean, we did Dr. Seuss's birthday as a theme. Right. We've done Alice in Wonderland, but it was Atlantic in Wonderland type of theme. So once we started doing themes, we saw more engagement from everybody because they wanted to be a part of it. Even the musicians that play will dress the part, the businesses decorate, so everybody kind of feeds into that fun environment.
And I know, speaking of musicians, at least at one establishment I've been to several times, and they have a band playing there, and there's bands across the street. So you have an eclectic mix of music as well on First Fridays, I would imagine.
We do, and you know, it started with the idea we need to connect the dark spots on the street. Gotcha. Because only when we had a few businesses, we had to get people to walk from here to there. So now you might have 15 bands playing on a certain night. But we program it so it's, again, family friendly, and that it'll appeal to a wide crowd.
Right. Well, I know that my granddaughters now are old enough to know, at 6 years old, that First Friday is coming up, Mommy, and that's where she tries to drag her mom out. And, and so we all know that when our kids are at the counter, they have those last-minute items that you can get there, and First Friday seems to be one of those events. As we go to break, Blair was kind enough to share a video that gives a bit more insight about just what Bixby Knolls is all about. We're going to share that, and when we come back, we're going to ask Blair more questions about what makes the Bixby Knolls Improvement Association such a great asset in the community. Stay with us. Welcome back to PADNET Presents. I'm your host, Derek Simpson. And on this particular program, as we opened up, we mentioned that we like to introduce guests that will both inspire and encourage and engage you to really get involved in our community and maybe think about how great Long Beach is if you didn't know. And if you do know, get off the couch, get off the chair, get out there, see what's going on, and maybe see what you can connect with that can make our city even greater. And the gentleman that's joining us today, Blair Cohn, is just such a person that's not only doing it from an individual perspective, but a professional perspective. Blair, the energy that you have is obvious when we talk, and I always enjoy being around you.
Thank you.
Because you're one of the most genuine people I've met in this community.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
very serious about what you do. When you talk about your job, of all the things that you could be doing, what inspires you to stay in this position that you have?
Well, a few things. It's kind of three levels. One is everybody else inspires me. And what I mean is every time I hear something going on downtown or a friend in another district that created an event or had a business land in their district or a musician that I see, all of that. That makes me want to be better and take it back to Bixby Knolls to make it better.
Right.
So neighborhoods and people, maybe get a little cheesy, but when you see the top of anything, the top musicians, the top artists, or athlete, that I look at that and get very jealous.
Yeah.
So I say, well, we're going to have to channel that energy into somehow being as creative as we can and push the district high. And and frankly, I have a love affair with the neighborhood of Bixby Knolls. I mean, I just love it that much. So that also helps the drive. And I think we've met all of our goals yet, so that's what keeps me to try to get there.
Somehow I don't think you ever meet all the goals. It's kind of, when I hear you say that, I can certainly relate exactly from our agency perspective, because I laugh with the staff and always say that, I'm going to ask for the universe, but, so what, you give me a planet or a star, that ain't so bad.
Oh, that's right, you have to.
You keep striving, and you have that desire to be great. And that's what makes that community great with your contribution. I know that we talked extensively about First Friday before we went to the break, but that wasn't the first event. And you say, when we go back to the beginning, there was a walking club that you started first. Why a walking club?
Right, so the Bixby Knolls strollers came about because in the first 60 days of taking the job, I went up and down the street to kind of survey what did we have in our neighborhood, because we didn't have the art theater, we didn't have the performing arts center, but I wanted to see what our inventory was. But I talked to business owners, and one business owner said, Blair, a woman just came into the shop and said, wow, how long have you been here? She said, 3 years I've been here, and the woman lived 1 block away.
Wow.
And I realized there was a huge disconnect that had happened from the business corridors to the neighborhood. So I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start at ground zero, and we're going to rally the people together. We're going to meet, and we're just going to take a walk. And I'm going to take them by the hand and literally walk them up and down the business corridors and into the neighborhoods, every nook and cranny, so they know where they live and what's here. And we pointed out businesses, as we would have done over well, now it's 6.5 years of doing it, walking together. We've been to Seattle and beyond now. We're almost to Vancouver if you measure our mileage. But it was an education piece. It was an non-traditional method to engage the community, to show them what they had right around them.
Now, that sounds unique in the sense that you start where people are and you get them to where you want them to be, which isn't so unique, but to apply it in the sense that you did it with the Bixby Knolls Improvement Association was definitely innovative. When you look at the other communities around Long Beach, I'm sure that they have similar associations. How do you work with them, if at all?
Well, it's great. The city brought together, this is now 5.5, 6 years ago, all of the business associations together just to have conversation. It wasn't our idea, but we thought it was great. City soon backed out of it, said, we'll just monitor it, but you all talk. So it's Bixby and downtown, it's 4th Street, it's Belmont Shore, Naples, Cambodia Town, now the new Uptown bid, but if I'm missing anybody, forgive me, on Broadway. Well, as we talked over the years, even though we're different than 4th Street is different than the Shore and downtown, we had similar issues when it came to business, whether it was the process and permitting or whatnot. So we said, well, now together we have a big voice of a lot of businesses here. So we would go back and meet with every department one at a time and say, look, how do we really get to a business-friendly um, in title, I guess. How does Long Beach really become business friendly?
Right, right.
How do we fix things? How do we get the culture to change that everybody in City Hall is an ambassador? Not just an inspector or an engineer, but that they represent new business here and commerce and growing it and raising the tide. So we do that once a month, and we've had success, and we have great relationships with these departments because it's not a witch hunt. It never was. It was how can we as partners work with the city to fill in the gaps or provide feedback. We just provided a new software that was presented to us. It's called Open Counter, and the city looks like it's going to adopt it, where all you have to do one time is you type in that you want to open a business and where. It will calculate, first of all, if you're zoned to do so, then all the fees and what departments you have to go through and how long it's going to take for inspection. So it stitches all the silos together, and it kind of speeds up the process. So these are the things that we've been doing collectively as a business association. Again, collaboration. If anything that comes out of today, collaboration is the number one.
It's all about relationships.
Absolutely.
At every level. Yeah. How is membership, Blair, when we're talking about this? When you look at the businesses up in the Bixby Knolls area, do you feel like you're at that percentage that you would like to be? Is there still, I know anything short of 100% probably not where you want it to be, but do you feel good about where you're at this point in the life of the association?
Feel good now because we have a little bit of the momentum going. In the last 3 years, I have to say that we've had more businesses open up than go away, which is great. Now there's always going to be turnover, whether it's retail or people retiring or for a number of reasons. But when I first started, now remember, I came on at the very end of '07. The board basically said, congratulations, you got the job, the economy tanked, good luck. Oh, wow. We had empty storefronts and whatnot, but by the energy we created and doing things different, we've attracted more business, and we try to do our best to keep them. And as we're doing all this, noise in the neighborhood, as I call it, it's attracted even more business. So it's been a good story the last few years, and I think that we're headed in the right direction. So yeah, we'd like to be at 100% in all office space or retail space, but I think things are much better than they were.
Now, are there any businesses on the horizon that you're excited about? I know I read recently that they have a new outlet center planned for downtown, right? And they have some big names that they're dropping up there. I know that the locally owned businesses are more inclined to be in the Bixby Knolls area, although you have a couple of banks there and franchises. But do you see anything on the horizon, any rumors? I know you may not be able to speak to.
No, I can tell you all of it. I mean, right now we're excited about the 3 new ones that are coming in. And the first is going to open Friday night. It's called Stateside Crafts. It's a craft beer and kind of craft soda shop, and you can also do tastings there, beer tastings. So all of a sudden, soon we're going to have all of this craft beer up on the street. So that shop is opening on Friday. Just up the street on Atlantic a little bit is the Wyland Brewery Restaurant, who relocated from Los Angeles. So they're building out right now, and they hope to be open by the end of December. And behind that is Duchess Brew House, where you come and brew your own beer and taste others. So those are the 3 biggies that are coming.
Is that unique, brewing your own beer? Or is that
it is
a trend now, or what?
There's a place in Huntington Beach that this gentleman is following that model. But with the new families here and the new demographic that's turning over the neighborhood, these are the types of businesses that will bring the neighborhood out even further.
Now, I don't want to run out of time before we talk about one of the cornerstones of the area, and that's the Expo. Sure. Can you share what that's all about?
Sure. In a nutshell, it's a 27,000 square foot monster in the middle of Atlantic Avenue, former furniture store, then Circuit City, then furniture store that the redevelopment agency went in and purchased. Right. Then they were going to knock it down, so we'd have a big hole in the middle of the block. And luckily, at the time, Councilwoman Ray Gablis jumped in and said, "Don't do that." And I said, "Ray, we can use it. If you trust the association, we can turn this into a community arts center." So slowly but surely, again, from the bottom up, it's become a community center. We have theater groups that use it on a regular basis for rehearsals and shows. We have community meetings of all types. There's gallery space, theater space. We're moving our offices. That's a new era, is that the BIA is moving into the building. The city just created new offices for us, and Councilmember Al Austin, he's going to have a field office in there.
Oh, that's great.
So now being in it, we're going to be able to be more of the on-site management. We're going to get the outside fixed up, The city's dumped a lot of money into the inside to get the bones right, but we want to make it an iconic building for the neighborhood like Welch's Restaurant was or the Crest Theater was back in the day. Now we want to take this furniture store warehouse and make it the community arts center. And when you drive by, you know, hey, that must be something special.
We got 2 minutes left, and you've talked about some great things happening up there. If you could summarize what you're most proud of, and I know it's like trying to choose what's your favorite child. You can't do that.
Yeah, that's tough.
But what are those things that really just, you know, bring a smile to your heart and your face when you think about the job that you're doing up there, Blair?
I think that when you see the fruits of the labor come to be in a comment from somebody that you maybe overhear as you're walking on Saturday mornings, or seeing the people who never knew each other come together at supper club and have a great time together and become friends outside of that. When we're at 82 books in the Literary Society, when First Fridays has thousands on the street, when the kids are coming out to do our Kiddical Mass ride, and the parents are thankful for the opportunity. The kids love it because they're big kids now riding in the street. It's a sum of all of that. That's what's satisfying. And then again, taking concept and seeing it come to fruition. So it's, look, I'm not the best painter or artist, but this is what I can do. And so it's been very satisfying.
Well, it sounds like the success has been built greatly on the strengths of yourself and those that you develop relationships up there to make the Bixby Knolls Improvement Association.
We have a good team.
Something to be
it's small
proud
but tough.
Small but tough. Well, when we started out this show, ladies and gentlemen, we promised you that our guests would be those that would inform, engage, and empower you. And we hope that we've achieved that goal in sharing with you what goes on in the Bixby Knolls community, specifically with the Bixby Knolls Improvement Association under the leadership of Blair Cohn. We've enjoyed having you with us on this particular episode of PADNET Presents. We hope that you will come back and join us for future shows. Until then, take care, and please come back to see us and hear what's going on special in Long Beach.